I wanted to talk about the return of the legendary Yu-Gi-Oh! Investors. Now make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. So I actually got to walk around YCS Columbus and get to experience modern trade culture, which means I get to interact with the floor of amazing floor vendors, or the backpack vendors as you like to call them. I like to use these events just to trade and pick up cards. You need to talk to people, have a good time. You never know what oddities you're going to look into, but this is where you get to start to see, where and what are other people looking for. What are the backpack vendors looking for these days? And I ran into a lot of the looking for inventory for Whatnot streams. These are people that are just looking to trade, cards to get cards that they can take home and put on Whatnot to stream. What are the big things? Dark Magicians, Blue Eyes, Dark Magician. One of the most asked for cards in my binder out of the weekend was a Blue Eyes White Dragon that was from the first reissue wave of the Legend of Blue Eyes. A lot of people were like, actually a lot, it was 3 or 4 people genuinely were interested just to take the card home and go sell it on Whatnot. So you could see the ceiling that people are interested in, which is, the market has shifted conditions right now. You've got people here that are coming in from Germany, in UK, that are bringing swaps. They're like, hey, you can trade your English cards, and then they take our cards back to their market and then trade them up because people like the color differentiations, the foreign differences, the availability. These are the people that are paying for their trips just on trading German cards, the English versions, taking them home, doing the work. It's a circle. It's very interesting when you look at the environment that has been fueled just on the foreign swap market alone. But obviously, that's, you've got people out here that are looking to trade, Dominus Sparks to pick up some Dark Magicians that, the TCG player. See, this is where it gets interesting, because the lines start to blur between TCG player value, because now you've got people that are looking at cards going, all right, well, this is the TCG player value, but I can take it home and put it on Whatnot, and I can go sell it for 2x the market price. One, you have to build a following in order to do this. That's very important. These are people that, they actually have gotten somewhere. They've grown to the point that they can actually build this stuff up and be able to, do things, which is genuinely a little bit of an improvement, to say the least. But then you kind of, I guess this is where you start to get the discussion of skewing for profit, because if the card's, listed at a price, I'm sure you've got people that are funneling money into picking up cards off a TCG player and also just taking those exact same cards and, they're taking to their Whatnot streams. It's the same thing with the card show people. You got people that are going to the card shows, they're getting their inventory for Pokemon, they're taking it home and they're funneling it through Whatnot, getting more money, going to the card show the next week and going, all right, well, this is all cheap stuff. They pick it up. It's the new circle right now, people. It's not happening on a crazy scale, but it's enough that I have to talk about it so that, you understand, people are looking for older cards right now. Vintage Yu-Gi-Oh! Is stupid right now. Not in like everything's gone crazy. Well, the first LLB market has gone crazy. That's an entirely other discussion to be had, with the explosiveness that particular sector's gone through. But also just the discussion of, as you're looking at the space and you're looking at how, that particular sector's going, you got people out here that are chasing good condition 10 promos, the original Dark Magicians, Red Eyes, Jinzas, but that's always been something that has been affected by the market. It's just more so now that we're seeing more of that pickup and more of that uptick in the collector player base actually approaching that. So I do, that's a pretty interesting topic of conversation, just to have with people, and, talking about, why they're getting certain cards, or, what works for them on their Whatnot streams. Because I went through 3 QCR Blue Eyes White Dragons over the weekend, all to different people with Whatnot streams. I trade for one, spin it back around to someone else. So left with 0-10 QCR Blue Eyes, but it was interesting just to kind of see the ebb and the flow of that. And they're not breaking any rules. It's just they're doing trades for cards that they've either pulled on Whatnot streams to go turn into other cards they can take back home and convert into money. It's a cycle of life, man. It happens. But it's very interesting because that's how, one chunk of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Investor portion of the group has evolved now, and also, this is just like the event floor, you're trading with all sorts of unique individuals. You're seeing all sorts of cool, unique things. This was one of the hardest cards out of the entire weekend to find from players. And I actually got lucky, and we did find one to add to collection. So it was very interesting just to see the track record for some of the things that you couldn't find. With that being said, though, overall, with Magnificent Monsters going on, I know we already made a Magnificent Monster video talking about, people going up to stores that, they've never bought from. They're like, hey, I know you do pre-sales. Let me buy 10 cases of the Magnificent Monsters set. And it's just you've never bought from me before. I don't know allocation. And why would I sell to you when I want to go sell to my regulars that have been buying sets from me? This is the thing that's been going on with Pokemon more recently too, where you got the stores that are rewarding the regulars. If you're coming in, you've been buying every set from us for a year now, you've become a regular. You've been contributing money into the ecosystem. When one set comes in and fucking derails the entire system, this is where the problems begin to come in. This is where we actually do get to see the trouble develop. And I do think, reward those that are loyal to you. It should always be your prerogative, for sure. And obviously, people like money, but, the long term, this is one of the most important things you'll ever learn in life. Think long term. Why do you think all these Whatnot scammers? It amazes me that you're willing to burn your bridge over a quick $2,000 for a quick loot, and then it's just but you could have more potential overall in the long term versus just a short term gain. And that part always has been interesting to me, on how fast people are willing to burn bridges for that quick turnover. But how many people are actually truly invested in a lot of these things, or they're just fly-by-nighters is the old term my parents like to use, here today, gone tomorrow, that sort of thing. But the more recent Yu-Gi-Oh! Investors, there's a lot more deep-seated money going into older vintage cards than I've ever seen before. There's a lot more people looking for older cards that you might not be surprised that you have, but old school ultimate rares are also a topic of conversation right now. They're not very expensive, but people want them. You can trade some of the trash ones, just to get better cards, and it's quite amazing to me just to see how the ecosystem is evolving right now. With, I'm not gonna say it's a new, group of people coming in, but it's definitely more interesting to see the new walk of life coming in and just changing up the current landscape. So, that all being said, people, I like where we're at right now. I like that there is some new potential to be had. I like that there are new ideas coming together. And, new money coming into the game is always a good thing, no matter how you're happy about it, sad about it. But, the next couple of months is going to be very interesting for the scape of the game. Whether or not you're happy to have more investors spending more money, or you're unhappy with the current state of things, does not matter. I'm very, very, very intrigued just overall to see. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.